Hi, I'm Kevin Hatley and welcome to Kevin Hatley Photography in my office. This is a channel that I've set up to share my experiences of wildlife and nature with others. So let's go. All trail cameras will come with their own specific instruction manuals, and it's important that you go through that for your specific camera. In this video, what I want to do is go through the common generic camera settings that you'll find on trail cameras, and I'll explain to you how they operate. Trail cameras themselves can be a bit confusing to begin with. In my first video on trail cameras, I went through the basic parts of a trail camera and how they work. In this video, what I want to do is go through the camera settings, the modes on the camera, how they operate, and what I'll do is I'll give you some top tips on camera settings for trail cameras. All trail cameras should have a menu button, should have an operation button which allows you to scroll through the different sections of the settings, and a power switch. Now if you look underneath the power switch on this one, you'll see that I've marked it red, green and yellow. Not all cameras are set out to be on, off, set. It can be set, on, off. So what I've done, so as not to confuse myself with the different cameras, is I've just colour coded it. So red is for off, green is for on, and yellow is for settings. Okay, tip number 5 is, if you're a beginner to trail cameras and trail camera photography, I would advise you to watch my first trail camera video on an introduction to trail cameras, and what that will do, it will give you a good all-round introduction and knowledge of trail cameras and how they work. What we'll do now is we'll go through each of the settings as set out in this specific trail camera that I use. There are basically two modes on a trail camera. That's motion detection and time lapse. Motion detection does as it says. It actually detects motion, or it will also detect changes in thermal heat signatures. So once a subject enters the detection zone on the camera will recognise either the motion or the thermal signature, and the camera will switch on. Time lapse is exactly what it says. You set the timings you want the camera to turn on over a period of time, and the camera will switch on and switch off as you dictate to the camera. The camera can be set to take either photos or videos in a number of ways. Firstly, to take straightforward images, photos, straightforward video, or it can also take a combination of pictures and video. One point to be aware of with this setting, where you've got pictures and video set, is that your camera will, once the PIR sensors detect a subject, the camera will take a picture, it will reset, it will take another picture, it will reset, it will take another picture if you set it for 3, it will reset, and then the video will kick in. So you need to be careful, and here's an example, and it shows you how firstly it detects, takes a picture, takes another picture, and then when it takes the video, you'll actually see that the subject is halfway through the scene before the video actually employs. Tip number 4 is to do with your power switch. If you're fortunate enough to own more than one trail camera, not all trail cameras are configured the same when it comes to the power switch. That's the on position, the off position, and the set position. So a little bit of a little tip just to colour code those switches, so that no matter what camera you're on, you know exactly what position the switch is in for on, off and set. One point that I want to reiterate from part 1 is to do with megapixels and 4K on trail cameras. You need to be very aware of what the camera manufacturers are stating the megapixels for the camera are, or the video quality. Always check the reviews for your specific camera, and I covered that in part 1. Next we have the video formats, or video length. Set the length of video for however long you want to set it for. That's down to you as an individual. Also, make sure that the video switch is on. You also get an option on some cameras to record sound, and again you need to make sure that that's switched on. When it comes to video format, there are basically two video formats. There's MP4 or MOV. The difference is very subtle. MP4 tends to be smaller size file and it has better compression, and it seems to be standardized across all platforms. So certainly for myself, MP4 is the one that I use. And here's a short example of the kind of quality I've got with this camera here. It's an MP4 file. It can shoot up to about 48 megapixels and it's 1296p or roughly 2K. Next we'll look at what's known as overexposure and suppression. This is basically divided into day and night. The default itself can normally be used for most settings or scenes, but it can be fine-tuned. So if you think that the images that you are getting are too dark, then you can lower the level. And vice versa, if you think that the images that you're getting are too bright or overexposed, then you can increase the level. And you can make those adjustments in this setting. And here's a couple of examples. Tip number 3 is when to actually do the settings for your trail camera. You want to be configuring the settings before you deploy it out in the field, and that's probably the best place to check and test it is actually at home, to make sure that it's operating correctly. The last thing you want to do is get out into the field, you go to put your trail camera into position and find that your batteries are too low, or you've left your SD card at home and you've not formatted it properly. So check your camera ideally before going out into the field. Detection delay relates to the trigger speed, in that after the trail camera has been initiated for the first time, it's the amount of time that the camera takes to recover before it will take subsequent pictures or triggers. 0 often means that you can capture images as fast as possible. And here is an example which is set at 1 second. Delay, watch the bottom right hand corner to see that. Setting the PIR sensitivity. There are basically 3 settings for setting the sensitivity of the PIRs. It's high, medium and low. If you want to capture absolutely everything, then you set it to high, and that will capture everything from small to large. There can be a slight problem with this, then you can get a lot of false triggers, so you need to be careful, especially of the wind on trees, bushes and things like that. Medium is a setting that you'd use for in between, and low focuses more on larger subjects. Side motion sensors, which are the PIRs, which look out to the sides of your detection zone, you should really set that to on. And what that will do, it will bring a faster trigger speed, and it will also capture fast moving objects coming into the detection zone. Tip number 2 is to do with your PIR sensitivity. I would recommend that to begin with you set it to high, and what that will do is that will capture everything that goes through the detection zone of your trail camera. That's everything from real small subjects and to those that have a low heat signature. If you get a lot of false triggers due to wind movement, then what you're going to have to do is lower the sensitivity of the PIRs accordingly. Motion tests. Not all cameras have motion tests, but if you do, I highly recommend that you set this up. And that helps you to actually accurately deploy your trail camera, put it into position, and then take a test shot so that you're happy before you leave your trail camera that it is pointing in the right direction. For time-lapse interval, you need to make sure you go back to the beginning where the modes are set and that it's set to time lapse. And what that will then do is that the trail camera will automatically operate as to how you have set it at the certain times and dates for time lapse. For infrared flash, the flash can be set to either high, medium or low. The higher the setting means that the greater distance that you're going to get with the flash when it operates. Both the detection zone and the PIR angle will determine when the subject will be detected. So side sensors should pick it up as they come into the side. Camera will operate, and the infrared flash should be triggered by the trail camera. Okay, I just want to take a little time out now just to give you a look forward to my next video in my trail camera series, which will be part 3 on how to actually set your trail camera up. And what we'll do is we'll look at the equipment that you need to set up a trail camera, we'll look at how to position a trail camera, we'll look at how to actually secure a trail camera, and finally we'll look at what's the best way to actually hide or disguise your trail camera while it's out in the field. So look forward to part 3, how to set up a trail camera. And now back to the video. The following settings of date and time, date format, time format, camera name are all straightforward and specific for your needs to set your camera as to how you want it. Moving on to the information loop or the information strip. This is the area at the bottom of the camera which records the date, the time and the temperature. Really useful if you're doing a project so that you know what time wildlife are entering certain areas. Loop recording. If you set the trail camera to on and loop recording, what will happen is that as your SD card fills up, the trail camera will overwrite the images that are already present on the camera. And vice versa, if the trail camera loop recording is set in the off position, the trail camera will record images until the card's full and then will stop recording images. Operation hours, straightforward. You could set the camera to go off at 6 o'clock every night for 2 hours. Straightforward. Password, if you're really worried about security of your camera and you've got it out on location, then I highly recommend that you set a password for your trail camera. Formatting your SD card. From prior experience, make sure that you check that you've downloaded all the files on your SD camera before you delete them by formatting the SD card in the camera. Top tip. Version just simply displays the current version of the trail camera you're using. And that should bring us back to the beginning again. Tip number 1 for your trail camera. Personally, I only use video mode. The quality of the photo images can be captured as stills or as snapshots that you can actually take from your video footage. That way you get the most out of your video footage as your subject enters the detection zone, walks through the zone and then leaves. You've got full coverage of that subject operating there. And as I said, you can take still images off that video footage, which can be just as good. So tip number 1, personally for me, is set it to video mode and capture your still images from snapshots. Okay, thanks for watching this edition of Kevin Hatley Photography and trail camera settings. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, as I always do, making a video and sharing my knowledge and experience in doing so. Trail cameras needn't be complicated or confusing. If you know your trail camera and you take your time to set it up correctly, I'm sure you will get the images that you're after. All I would ask is that if you've liked it, could you hit the like button? Could I also ask you to subscribe to my channel, Kevin Hatley Photography. It's completely free, it doesn't cost anything, and what it does is it just allows me to build my channel and share my knowledge and experience of going out into the British countryside and filming nature and wildlife. So until the next time, stay safe, take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.